Hello, I hope you've been enjoying your tutorial so far. Now, in this segment, we are going to cover super tokens. And I'd like to have a little discussion before we start. Let's go to our dictionary area. And I've got my dictionary open. And these are some of the different types of super tokens that you can create. Let me explain. When you're writing real time, if you would like your bylines to come out in the proper format, your colloquy to come out in the proper format, and so on, this is what you need to do. First off, you need to have a consistent stroke in order to make this a very time-saving factor for you. What super tokens will do for you is allow you each time before a real-time job to go in and change the token. That means to go in and just change the name of the attorney. You will not have to write your strokes anymore ahead of time. You will not have to global those in order for them to come out during real time. Now, if you have gotten into the habit of stroking an individual's name, let's say the first syllable of their name twice, super tokens will not work for you. However, if you have been taught a consistent stroke, for instance, what I use is snoo and Jew or screw, whichever you were taught. Some people use 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever you were taught. I've had clients that use IFPLT or AOFPLT, whatever works for you to indicate your first attorney, your second attorney, and so on. So there are two parts to setting this up. Let's do what we need to do in our personal dictionary. What I want you to do is click on the Add button. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my first super token so that you can see it a little bit better. Now, in my steno area, I have typed in SNAO, and again as a reminder, you can use regular English letters, and /SGL. So basically what you will be doing will be, let me go to Add, and I'm going to put in SNAO /SGL. And you will notice how the system knows the steno for it. Now, what you need to do for the English is going to depend on how you set your byline up. Because when I hit snoo Q, it's going to give me by Mr. So-and-so. So the first thing we need to do is use a new line symbol because you want it to come down onto the next line. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in the word by in all caps. I'm going to leave a space. I'm going to use my @ symbol. And my identifier is going to be ATTY1, ATTY1. Now, you can use things like plaintiff, plaintiff 1, plaintiff 2, or DEFT, DEFT1, those types of things. You can also use Mr. ATTY1 or Mr. Snoo or whatever you want to use here as your identifier. However, If you are going to place the title Mr. in front of it, you cannot have any spaces. In other words, it would look like this. Mr. Snoo. Okay? So remember, if you're using Mr., Mrs., Ms., you cannot put a space in there. So I'm going to make this attorney 1. And now I'm going to put a colon. And I'm going to use, again, a new line symbol. Now, for me, if we go to my editor, you'll see when I get my byline, it's by Ms. Zabrowski, and then I tell it, come down onto a new line. I want it to tab in one tab, give me a Q, and tab again. So, that's what I'm going to indicate here. I'm going to use a greater than sign to indicate one tab, and then I'm going to do my bracket, Q, period, bracket, and I'm going to use another tab symbol and an up cap. The up cap is above your 6 if you're looking for it on your keyboard. So basically what I'm saying to the system here is when I write snoo Q, I want it to come down onto a new line. I want it to put the word by, and then I have my indicator, colon, new line, go in one tab, put a Q period, come in another tab, and capitalize the first word. So this is how you will be doing your byline. Now, I'm going to close this because I don't want to add another one. All right, so we have our first attorney for snoo Q for a byline. Now, we need to have a colloquy entry for that same individual. So right now, I'm going to go to snoo, and you will click on the add button. Now, my steno is S-N-A-O. So when I write S-N-A-O, it's going to know to put it in colloquy for that attorney. Now, there are two types of English commands here. The important thing for you to know right now before you do the colloquy is whether you have an alternate paragraph style. An alternate paragraph style will look something like this. Let's assume for a minute that you do not, and I emphasize do not. Let's say you have the court or Mr. Williams here, but you want your colloquy to start, let's say, way over here, and when it wraps around, instead of going to the left margin, you want it to block right under here, right under the text for the Q&A. If that is your setup, then you have an alternate paragraph style. If, however, your colloquy comes in one or two tabs and wraps to the left margin, then you do not. Now, for myself, I do not have an alternate paragraph style. So, for people that do not use an alternate paragraph style, this is the way you are going to define the English for snoo, or 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever you're using for your consistent stroke for steno. I start mine out with a period. If, when you go into colloquy, you always write your end punctuation, then you don't need a punctuation mark. But sometimes for me, it gets so fast, I can't think fast enough to do a dash or whatever it is. So I have arbitrarily put a period here, and I take care of that when I edit. You will then need a new line symbol, and then you need to know how many tabs in is your Q&A. My Q, I'm sorry, not Q&A, but colloquy. My colloquy is in at the second tab, so I'm using 2 tab symbols here. The next thing you want to do is put an @ symbol, and you're going to use the same identifier that you did for your byline, for your SNU cue. You're going to use that same identifier for the SNU. So I'm using my ATTY1 again, colon, and an up cap. Okay? Now, those of you that have an alternate paragraph style, let me go over this with you. Let's say you're going to use SNU, S-N-A-O, and your English then will be the following. It will be a period, open square bracket, P colon, the word colloquy, and please spell it correctly or it won't work, C-O-L-L-O-Q-U-Y, close the bracket. Now we need to tell the system, come down onto a new line, and for you will use no tabs, because when you are using an alternate paragraph style, the P colon colloquy will know how many tabs in it needs to be. If you do put tabs here, you're going to get double tabs. So make a new line, put your @ and again your identifier, colon, up cap. And now you have your colloquy setting for your first attorney. Now, let's see here. Okay, it's saying I've got a conflict. I'm going to cancel this, and I'm going to get out of here because I don't want to create that conflict. Alrighty, now we have one attorney. You now need attorney 2. Now, what I do is my plaintiff's attorney is my Addy 1, and my defense attorney is Addy 2. Now, in real life, you're going to have more than one attorney on both sides. Let me give you some suggestions as to what you can do to indicate these people. Let me just make a new line here so I can just type. Let's say you're going to use Addy 1 for attorney 1, and then you may use Addy 2, Addy 3, and it depends on how many you can keep straight. So in other words, Addy 1 is my SNU. Addy 2 for me is actually SNAOF. So I just start going across the upper right bank. Attorney 3 for me is Snoop, S-N-A-O-P, whoops, and so on. Great, if I could type. Now, you can do that all the way across if you can keep them straight. I'm good for 3. And then after that, quite honestly, I start stroking the first syllable of the name twice. And then I just have to edit those or global them in. But I'm good for 3 attorneys. SNU, SNOOF, and SNOOP. And my byline would be SNU Q, SNOOF Q, and SNOOP Q. Now, if you think you can do up to 3, then what I would do for your defense side is I would start them with 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so you're going to have Addy 4, Addy 5, Addy 6, and what we're going to use for this would be JAO, and this one will be JAOF, because again I'm going across the top bank, JUF, and JAOP, and so on. So this is just to give you an idea of how you can split the 2 sides, okay?